There's a moment when you're sitting at the dinner table, surrounded by the people who've known you longest, yet feeling more alone than ever. The laughter feels hollow. The conversations skim the surface. And deep inside, there's this quiet ache that you can't quite name, like something precious has been slowly cracking for years, and you've been pretending not to notice. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that weighs heavily on many hearts after 60. Those subtle family patterns that chip away at our souls, one small moment at a time. The habits we've learned to live with, thinking they're normal, not realizing they're slowly breaking our hearts. By the time we're done here, you'll understand why that heaviness in your chest during family gatherings isn't just you being too sensitive. You'll see how certain ways of being together can drain the life from relationships that should nourish us. And perhaps most importantly, you'll discover that even the smallest shift toward honesty can unlock more love than you ever thought possible. Let me share something with you. Those who've lived long enough to see patterns repeat across generations know this truth. The things we don't talk about in families often hurt us more than the things we do. The weight of what's left unsaid can become heavier than any burden we carry openly. So let's gently pull back the curtain on 5 family habits that might be quietly breaking your heart. Not to blame anyone, but to understand. Because understanding is where healing begins. The first habit that slowly fractures our hearts is the way we keep painful family secrets buried deep, hoping they'll somehow disappear on their own. You know this feeling. Maybe it's the uncle whose drinking destroyed family gatherings, but nobody ever acknowledged it. Perhaps it's the way one parent treated you differently than your siblings, leaving wounds that were never discussed. Or maybe it's something that happened when you were young, something that cast a shadow over your sense of safety, but the family acted like it never occurred. Here's what those who've walked through deep emotional healing understand. When we keep these secrets locked away, our bodies hold onto them like a clenched fist that never relaxes. You might think you've moved past these things, but your nervous system remembers. The headaches that come from nowhere, the way your shoulders tense up during certain conversations, that feeling of being on edge when you're supposed to be relaxed. Think of it like carrying a heavy suitcase that you've been holding so long you've forgotten it's there. You've adapted to the weight, changed how you walk, how you stand, how you move through the world. But the burden is still there, affecting everything you do. People who've worked with trauma survivors for decades tell us something profound. Silence about painful experiences doesn't make them go away. Instead, it puts us at war with ourselves. Part of us knows what happened, but another part pretends it didn't. This internal conflict drains our energy, affects our sleep, and can make us feel disconnected from our own lives. The healing begins when we allow ourselves to know what we know. You don't have to announce it to the world or confront anyone else. Start by being honest with yourself. Maybe it's writing in a journal that no one else will read. Maybe it's finally saying out loud, in an empty room, what you've never been able to say. That hurt me. That wasn't okay. That changed how I see myself. There's something almost magical that happens when we stop hiding from our own truth. It's like finally setting down that heavy suitcase. Your whole body sighs with relief, even if your mind is still catching up. The second habit that chips away at our hearts is the way we learn to numb ourselves to avoid feeling pain, but end up losing our capacity for joy as well. This one is particularly heartbreaking because it starts as protection. When life has handed us more than we can handle, our wise bodies learn to turn down the volume on all feelings. It's like wearing emotional armor, effective at keeping out the arrows, but it also keeps out the sunshine. You might recognize this if you've ever felt like you're watching your own life through glass. Family celebrations feel distant. Grandchildren's laughter seems to come from far away. Beautiful moments happen around you, but somehow you can't quite reach them. You're present in body, but absent in spirit. Those who understand the nervous system describe this as our body's way of surviving overwhelm. When there's been too much pain, our system essentially says, I'll just turn down all the dials. But here's the thing about those dials. They don't distinguish between painful feelings and pleasurable ones. When we turn down grief, we also turn down joy. When we protect ourselves from disappointment, we also block out wonder. People living with this numbness often describe feeling like they're sleepwalking through their own lives. They go through the motions of loving and being loved, but there's this persistent sense of emptiness underneath. During what should be the happiest family moments, birthdays, holidays, reunions, they feel strangely hollow, as if they're failing at something they should naturally know how to do. The path back to feeling starts incredibly small. It's not about diving into deep emotions right away. Instead, it's about rebuilding your relationship with sensation itself. Those who've guided people through this process suggest starting with your body's simplest signals. Right now, as you're watching this, notice how your feet feel inside your shoes. Feel the weight of your body in your chair. Take 3 slow breaths and pay attention to the air moving in and out of your lungs. This isn't meditation, it's reconnaissance. You're sending gentle scouts back into your own body to report what they find. This kind of gentle attention to physical sensation is like turning the dial back up one tiny notch at a time. You're not forcing anything. You're just quietly welcoming yourself back home to your own experience. If you're finding value in this conversation, would you take a moment to let us know? Type Heart Healer in the comments. It tells us you're here and ready to continue this journey of understanding. And if you'd like more insights on navigating the deeper waters of family life and aging, that subscribe button is there whenever you're ready. The third habit that slowly breaks our hearts is getting trapped in the past instead of being able to remember it safely. This is where things get particularly cruel. Something painful happened years ago, maybe decades ago, but your body reacts as if it's happening right now. The smell of a certain cologne brings back a flood of fear. A particular tone of voice makes your chest tighten. The sound of raised voices sends you into that old familiar panic, even when the current situation is completely safe. Those who study how our brains respond to overwhelming experiences explain this as our alarm system getting stuck in the on position. It's like a smoke detector that goes off every time you toast bread. It's trying to protect you, but it's responding to the wrong signals. You might know someone who lived through difficult times but seems unable to truly put them in the past. Every family gathering becomes a potential battlefield because their nervous system is still fighting old wars. They can't seem to just relax and enjoy the present moment because part of them is always scanning for danger that no longer exists. This creates a terrible kind of prison. You want to be present with your loved ones. You want to enjoy these precious years. But something inside keeps pulling you back to times and places you desperately wish you could leave behind. It's exhausting to live this way, always being yanked between then and now. People who've learned to work with this stuck alarm system share a beautiful insight. You can learn to find islands of safety within your own body, even when part of you feels triggered. It's about creating small anchors to the present moment. When you feel that familiar tug toward the past, try this. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Feel them rise and fall with your breath. This isn't about stopping the feelings. It's about adding something else to the mix. You're saying to your nervous system, yes, I hear you. And also, I'm here now, in this moment, in this body, and I'm okay. Or try gently moving your shoulders up and down or slowly turning your head from side to side. These simple movements remind your body that you're not frozen, not trapped. You have agency in this moment, even if you didn't back then. The fourth habit that quietly erodes our hearts is the way we learn to carry shame and blame ourselves for things that were never our fault. This one runs so deep that many people don't even recognize it as a habit. It just feels like truth. I'm the problem. I deserved what happened. If I had been different, better, smarter, they would have loved me properly. Children are remarkably good at adapting to impossible situations. When a family system is chaotic, neglectful, or harmful, young minds work overtime to make sense of it. And often the conclusion they reach is, it must be me. I must be the reason things are this way. This becomes a lens through which everything gets filtered. Success feels temporary and undeserved. Love feels suspicious. Surely they'll figure out who you really are and leave. Joy feels dangerous. The other shoe is always about to drop. People carrying this kind of shame often describe it as having a cruel inner critic that never takes a day off. This voice points out every flaw, magnifies every mistake, and minimizes every accomplishment. It whispers things like, "Who do you think you are?" and "You don't deserve this happiness." Those who've learned to heal from deep shame explain that this critical voice usually developed to try to keep you safe. It was your young mind's way of trying to maintain some control in an uncontrollable situation. If I can just be perfect enough, good enough, invisible enough, maybe they'll stop hurting me. The gentle path forward involves recognizing that this inner critic is actually a part of you that's been working overtime to protect you. Instead of fighting it or trying to silence it, you can learn to thank it for trying to keep you safe, while also letting it know that you're grown now and can take care of yourself in new ways. Start noticing when that critical voice pipes up. Instead of believing everything it says, get curious about it. Oh, there's that voice again. What is it trying to protect me from right now? Often you'll find it's reacting to old triggers in present situations. The fifth and perhaps most heartbreaking habit is the way we learn to build walls around our hearts when the people who were supposed to love us became the source of our deepest wounds. When safety gets shattered within our most important relationships, something profound breaks in our ability to trust. Not just trust in others, but trust in our own judgment, our own worth, our own capacity to navigate intimate connections. You might recognize this if you find yourself holding back, even with people who've proven themselves safe. There's this part of you that wants to love and be loved, but another part that keeps whispering warnings. Don't get too close. Don't need them too much. Keep an escape route ready. This protective distance might have saved you once, but it can become a lonely prison. You watch other people seem to effortlessly connect, share vulnerabilities, ask for help, express needs, and you wonder what's wrong with you that these basic human exchanges feel so risky. People who understand trauma in families know that this wall building isn't a character flaw, it's evidence of intelligence. Your young self figured out how to survive in a dangerous emotional environment. The problem is that same protective system can stay active long after the danger has passed, keeping out love along with potential harm. Those who found their way back to trusting connection often start in unexpected places. Sometimes it's with animals who offer love without agenda. Sometimes it's in group activities, singing, dancing, community work, where connection happens around a shared purpose rather than through vulnerable disclosure. The key is finding ways to experience what those who study healing call safe togetherness. This might mean joining a choir where you can feel connected to others through music without having to share personal details, or volunteering somewhere that lets you experience cooperative care without pressure for intimacy. These experiences slowly teach your nervous system that connection doesn't always equal danger, that you can be part of something larger than yourself without losing yourself, that there are forms of love that don't require you to surrender your protective boundaries until you're ready. As we reach the end of our time together, let me offer you this gentle truth. Recognizing these habits isn't about blame, not of yourself, not of your family, not of anyone who tried their best with the tools they had. These patterns often pass down through generations like family recipes, each person adding their own ingredient of survival to the mix. Your grandparents learned to cope in their own difficult times. Your parents did the same. and you developed your own protective strategies in response to what you encountered. But here's the beautiful thing about being where you are now in life. You have the perspective of years, the wisdom of experience, and the freedom that often comes with this stage of life. You're no longer that vulnerable child who had to adapt to survive. You're a person with choice, with agency, with the power to write new chapters. Your body has been keeping score all these years, holding both the pain and the possibility for healing. And while these habits may have protected you once, you get to decide now which ones still serve you and which ones you're ready to gently set aside. The invitation isn't to fix everything or confront everyone or have difficult conversations you're not ready for. The invitation is simply to begin being kinder to yourself, to start recognizing these patterns without judgment, to understand that your protective responses made sense given what you lived through, and maybe, just maybe, to experiment with tiny moments of letting your guard down, a genuine smile, a real laugh, a moment of letting yourself be moved by beauty without immediately protecting yourself from disappointment. The love you've been seeking might be closer than you think. Sometimes it starts with learning to extend to yourself the kind of tenderness you would offer a friend who had lived through what you've lived through. Which of these 5 habits speaks most deeply to your experience? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Your story matters, and sharing it might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if this conversation has touched something in you, would you consider liking this video and subscribing? These topics deserve our attention, and together we can create a space where the deeper truths of family life can be explored with compassion and wisdom. Remember, it's never too late to come home to yourself. Your heart is stronger than you know, and it's been waiting patiently for you to tend to it with the love it's always deserved.